This week on Melanated Conversations, we amplify the voice of a sister who really knows the power of her purpose and is utilizing it to help others move into their own. On the show this week, we want to introduce you to Miss Brittany Sherell of the Fulfillment Factor brand. In our chat today, Brittany opens up the lens to life events that triggered the powerful shift in her life, which allowed her to create this move framework that she is now utilizing to encourage others to pursue their own fulfillment factor. So join us for some refreshing soul food today as we chat with our newly acquired cousin, Brittany Sherell.
Welcome to Melanated Conversations, our narrative and our perspective.
Here on the podcast, we are amplifying the voices of Black women and sharing their powerful stories of transformation.
I'm Tyrion.
And I'm Yana. Let's start the show. Welcome back to another episode of Melanated Conversations. I am your co-host, Yana.
And I am your co-host, Tyrion.
And welcome back to the show. So today we have a very special lady on the show today who is going to share a little bit about her story and some fabulous things that she has going on. I want to welcome you guys to our guest today, Miss Brittany Sherell. Welcome, Brittany.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Chat with you ladies.
Yes. So, Brittany, we connected actually through the WOC podcaster. So, I don't know if you guys remember in our previous episode, we actually had the founder of WOC Podcasters on the show. And this is just another great experience from that. It's just that networking and connecting. So we're excited that Brittany said yes to connect with us, and yeah, we're gonna just talk through some things. But Brittany, again, just thank you for joining us. We're excited to chat with you today. We actually usually start our show off with a round of what we call rapid fire questions, but I think we have renamed it from one of our lovely previous guests and good friends, Keisha Johnson. We have somewhat renamed our segment to Rambling Fire Questions.
Yeah.
Because we like to ramble a little bit. But
are you ready to ramble?
So these will be some fun, some lighthearted questions. Actually, I think we're going to do a little self-care check-in. So we like to call this, what do we call this, Terry?
I guess like our self-care senses. I don't know.
Yes, the 5 senses of self-care.
Yeah, the 5 senses.
I don't know what we call it, but we're going to ask you a few questions, and we'll answer these as well. So, are you ready to get started?
Let's do it.
All right.
So we're actually not going to do all 5 senses today, but we're going to do 3 of the 5 senses. So the first sense that we're going to talk about is sight. So what does self-care look like for you?
Self-care looks like, so when you say look like, you mean like, what am I doing?
What are you seeing? What are you looking at? Maybe what are you reading? Yeah.
So for me, self-care definitely includes reading, and I'm probably reading. I love reading books written by women. I've noticed a pattern, in my reading habits that I just gravitate towards books that are written by women. And so one of the books that I enjoy rereading is The Breakthrough Sold Separately by Brandy Harvey. It just breaks so many of those Black woman narratives that we've kind of fallen into. Mm-hmm. And it's a great book. It's not super long, but she just gets to the heart of the matter. And it's a great book to read and reread.
What was the name of that book?
Yeah, I was just about to ask. I was supposed to write that down.
The Breakthrough is sold separately. The Breakthrough is sold separately.
Okay. The Breakthrough is sold separately.
And you're going to see either a cup, a mug of coffee, or a glass of wine while doing.
Okay. I like how you read.
Right. We can go ahead and start a reading circle right now. You have all the qualities.
I'm mad at it. Okay. Yana, what about you?
I'm with Sherell on that. For me, it's as of lately, y'all know I have my little mini quote unquote office. Is really a converted closet upstairs that I have turned into an office. And I have my little corner and just reading and writing. Actually, I've been starting back writing poetry. That's like one of my biggest things that I love to do as far as expressing myself. So self-care looks like me, dropping a few lines about things that's on my mind.
See, you're trying to throw lines out right now.
No, I'm not.
You're trying to throw lines out right now, okay?
So what about you? Oh, and I will add a glass or two with that as well. So
amen. Yes. So, I'm not going to say that I'm not a reader because I do read. Let's get that straight. Okay. But I am different in the sense that I enjoy more visual stuff. Yeah. So I enjoy movies and stuff like that. So actually I just watched, and I don't even know if this came out recently. I just watched this the other night, and it was actually a really, really, really good movie. Or I thought it was a really good movie that had a pretty decent message to it. It was The Invisible Man with Emily. Oh gosh, I can't think of her last name right now. Stormy Reed, my girl Stormy Reed's in there. A couple other people. It was actually a pretty good movie. It was like a thriller, but it had a good message, an underlying message as far as like dealing with domestic violence and stuff like that. So I just thought, and a really women's empowerment type of movie. So I thought it was a pretty.
Check that out.
Huh?
I said I have to check that out.
Right.
Yeah. It was actually really good, and I feel like I want to say that it's somewhat a remake, but I think they completely
changed the storyline a little bit.
The storyline, yeah. But okay, as far as reading, I actually am, which I read the Bible all the time, but one book that I'm actually in quite heavily right now is just the Book of Psalms. And I think just because David laments a lot in that book, and realizing, I've talked about this, just kind of, being in a weird space right now. I think all of us are just kind of dealing with life. Life is differently, and we're just trying to cope. And so I've just been able to try to get my mind in a different head space, and just reading him lamenting and all the things he kind of dealt with, and just being able to kind of like absorb myself in that has been somewhat helpful. So, yeah.
Mm. All right. And I'm going to have to add that to my book list. Sherell, I do have that.
Yeah, definitely. Yes.
We'll have it in the show notes for you guys too, because I know you're like, what was that name of that again? So we'll have it for y'all. Okay, so next one. What would you say self-care tastes like for you?
Okay, so obviously coffee or wine.
Mm-hmm.
And chocolate chip cookies.
Hey!
She is me and I am her.
Or chocolate chip ice cream.
Come on, girl. She is us. She is us. You speaking my language. Come on, chocolate chip cookies and ice cream.
That's what it tastes like for me.
Girl, you family. We done met family.
She family.
It's nice to meet you, cuz. We didn't even know.
That is how I rock. Now, any other time I drink straight water, and for me that is also a form of self-care.
Yes,
I think. And I had an aunt who was really overweight, and she's actually gone on now. But during that time, she was trying to make lifestyle changes, and one of the things she did was start drinking nothing but water. And I spent time with her every day, and somehow she converted me to drinking nothing but water. And now I don't really have a taste for soda, juice, or anything like that. So I like, outside of coffee and wine, give me water. That's all I want.
Ooh, I'm trying to catch that water spirit. I really am. Ooh.
Throw it on.
I like the water version that God turned over to the wine.
That works for me too,
I'm gonna confirm everything that Brittany just said, especially about that water part. Same way. Like I drink at least I try to drink about 90 ounces of water every day.
Bless y'all.
And
y'all so good.
Huh?
I said bless both of y'all. Y'all are so good.
And I will notice that I even though I do bloat at least once a month, but it just helps with like the overall like kind of extra bloatedness that I can maybe from something I've eaten. And I don't really have a taste for like other super sweet drinks or anything like that, except for the same. Give me some wine. I'm not ever gonna turn down no wine.
Exactly.
So I agree with her on that one. I think for me, what self-care is tasting like for me right now, okay? My daughter just had a birthday this past Sunday, on Easter Sunday, and we ordered a cake from our former guest. I think she was on, about 2 weeks ago?
Mm-hmm.
About 2 weeks ago.
Karen, hey girl.
Karen Brown from Labor Love Bakery. And my goodness, we did a half and half red velvet, and a half crazy strawberry shortcake cheesecake. My God. Jesus is in that cake. Okay?
I told you.
Yana knows. Yana's the one that put us on.
Oh, I know. Jesus is her taste tester. He approves and stamps those cakes. Yes. And my goodness, like I was upset when we interviewed her because I hadn't tasted any of her cakes yet. And child, that's that. So that was a blessing, and so that's helping me get through this week as well. So yeah, that's what self-care tastes like right now. Okay, I'm done. Well, for me, self-care, and I agree for all those things that y'all said as well. For me, my family has been spending a lot of time lately cooking together. So we have just tried all kinds of different recipes. So we try to make each night, since we can't necessarily travel to different places, we will transform different nights as like we're traveling to Korea. So we'll try to figure out a Korean recipe, or my Thai, or y'all know I love all Asian food. So we've been eating a lot of Asian food. That's kind of my thing. But what did we have last? Oh, actually, last night we cheated. We just had like a burger or something. But yeah, we've been like, even like my daughters, they've been really into like baking and like cooking from scratch. So Sunday for Easter, my oldest, she and my youngest, they both made a homemade vanilla buttermilk cake with homemade cream cheese frosting. And the day before yesterday, my youngest, she made her first homemade no-bake cheesecake with her dad. So they just been like, self-care has tasted really good during this quarantine, I must say. We've been eating all kinds of things and learning just about different cuisines. It's kind of been more like part of our curriculum too, like learning about the culture as well as cooking in the culture. So that's what self-care tastes like for me.
I love it. Y'all so creative.
It's really because I like to eat, and I have to try to find a new way of saying, y'all want to try some food. I want to eat.
And you talk about me bringing y'all a piece of cake. Like, y'all know where we live. Y'all go ahead and slide something in the mailbox.
Okay.
Go, listen, make a cheesecake.
She did. It's actually good. She made the little homemade graham cracker crust and everything.
Okay, don't play with us. Listen.
No, but yeah. So that's what it looks like for me. All right. So I guess we have one more, and then we'll get into our topics today.
Yeah. So last one, Brittany. What does self-care feel like for you or to you?
Self-care feels like peace. It is just a sense of fullness and stillness for me. That's what it feels like.
That's good.
I can be doing stuff, but it still feels like I'm centered. It feels like I'm grounded. It feels like my life is meaningful and the work I do is meaningful.
Yes.
That's beautiful.
I know. I like that. I would say for me, definitely this week, self-care feels like rest. I'm always just like super, super busy, be really trying to fit everything on the plate, trying to just work through everything. And, this time is really like gotten us in a place where you gotta really be intentional about your time, your space, your energy, like making sure that you are good. And my body, I would push my body sometimes to the extent that as far as I can, and it's gotten to the point where my body starts to, I'm becoming more aware. I need to, like, some things can wait. Every email doesn't have to be answered right when it needs to be. You got to give yourself some time to pause and some breaks. So definitely for me, it's been rest. I've been taking quite a few naps this week, and it's been feeling very lovely. I've been reintroduced to nap time, and I am loving it. I may have one today.
I'm an advocate of naps. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, resting has definitely been there's just definitely been something, and also just being at peace with accepting rest. Not necessarily meaning that, rest doesn't mean that you're not
fighting it.
Yeah, not fighting it. But for me, it's, I feel like it's this battle for me. Like, if I'm resting, it means I'm not getting anything done. It means I'm not contributing, or I'm not, it's this kind of battle of, like, if you're not doing anything, you're not accomplishing anything. I don't want to use the word lazy, because I know I'm not lazy, but so that battle of trying to fight that, and like, no, you just need to rest. Rest is essential. So yeah, just kind of getting acquainted with that and really allow my body the time to replenish.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. That's a word. I'm not gonna go there, but that's a word. I think, for me, and I'm gonna talk specifically this week as well, Yana. I think self-care for me this week, I have cried a lot this week, and I think sometimes you think, well, if you're crying, like, you're out of control of everything, and everything is like falling apart. And while, yes, for some people you may be feeling that way, I think it's okay to cry. It's okay to release. It's okay to feel your emotions.
I know all about that.
Yeah, and Yana and other people, some people that are close to me know that I have a hard time, like, I guess, practicing emotional integrity and like really just, feeling my feelings. And so I've been able to do that a lot this week, or even just talk through a lot of things that I probably normally wouldn't talk through. And so, while some things may be heavier than others, like, it's fine. It's been helpful. It's been helpful to release, because that means that I'm not carrying all the burdens of, the heaviness of some of those things. I can release them in one way or the other. So yeah, that's what self-care feels like for me.
Brought that up because that's one of the things that Brandy brings up in that book I mentioned, The Breakthrough Soul Separately. It's just how, especially as Black women, we've seen the narrative play and replay over and over again, where we've seen women handle grief and burnout in unhealthy ways, but that was really because they, in a lot of senses, didn't have the luxury to handle it any other way. Even dating back to slavery, and how women would see their husbands being lynched or whipped or killed or sold off somewhere else, and they have to jump right back up the next day and get back in the fields as if nothing happened. And it's just kind of carried through generations. You just see your aunts, your grandmas, the women in your life just kind of like skip over their feelings. Like, they don't really give themselves the time to just feel. Or fall into the trap of, like, comparing our stress and strife. You vent to your mom or you vent to your sister, and you're like, hey, girl, I'm struggling with X, Y, and Z. And then she's like, girl, you think that's something? Let me tell you what happened to me. And we don't even realize this unhealthy cycle that we're creating around grief. And so sometimes we just have to relearn and rip away those limiting beliefs around grief and burnout, and understand that we deserve to be able to just sit with our feelings sometimes, and we deserve to be able to just cry about, even if it seems like nothing. Don't pass judgment like, oh, she over crying about nothing. No, just allow ourselves and the women connected to us, to just sit with their feelings sometimes.
Yes. That's yeah, girl. Brittany, child. Woo. Why are we going deep on rambling fire questions today?
No, this is good because this actually leads into this actually is a good segue into our conversation. Because we're gonna have, I think, that topic alone carries weight into a lot that we're going to talk about, especially with some of the work that you're doing with women and helping women to fulfill, their passions and pursue what their calling is. But we'll break down a lot about kind of what Brittany does, and she'll tell a little bit about her coaching practice. But before we actually get into that, Brittany, can you tell our listeners a little bit about you and a little bit about your origin story?
Yeah, so I am a woman who decided to become the person I needed at a very uncertain time in my life. I decided to not allow other women to go through it without having a place of refuge. And that thing is being in a space where I felt like I followed the script. I went to school and got my degrees and got married, and I thought I did everything right. And I still was laying up at night, unsatisfied, frustrated, feeling overwhelmed, burnout, questioning what is even my purpose in life. But everybody else thought I had it together. I looked like I had it together, but on the inside, I was really going through hell. And so what I learned was that success and satisfaction don't always go hand in hand. And that missing link is what I call the fulfillment factor. So everything I do, that is my jam, helping women find fulfillment so that they can live with meaning and lead with confidence.
Yes, I love that, the fulfillment factor.
Mm-hmm. What was the thing you said? Success and
satisfaction. They just don't always go hand in hand.
Yeah, that's good. That's wow. Write that down too, young.
Write it down. I'm writing it down. Just because I'm the writer, I mean I got to take the notes.
I'm sorry.
No, it's but I am taking notes.
I kind of figured you were.
So Brittany, what were you doing that led up to this point where you realized that you're in a space that you were kind of like, I don't want to say going through the motions, but because I really resonate with what you were mentioning, and that's kind of where I was too in this place. Shoot, not even just a year or two ago, is when I was transitioning out of corporate. I found myself in this space of like just going through the motions, like just like you, I did everything that I was told or recommended to do, go through all, go take the classes, go get your master's, you follow this process, work your way up, but honestly, the path that I took was not necessarily the path that fulfilled me. So what life events took you to that point to where you was like, it's now for me time to redirect?
So before I even got married, I was actually in a physically and verbally abusive relationship. And I had this moment where I knew I was about to take my last breath. And I couldn't even speak. So the only thing I could do was communicate with God in my head. And all I could say in my head was, all I could think was, God, I know you did not create me to die this way. And in a split second, he gave me the opportunity to get away. And it's something about when you have a moment where you're on your way out and you approach life differently. Like it really communicates to you in a way clearer than anything else that life is finite. Like there is an end to it and you have no control over when that happens. And so from that moment forward, I knew that I wanted to be intentional with my time, where I spent my time, money, energy, and resources, because I never knew we don't know when our time is up. And so when my time is up, I want to know that I gave it all I had. And so I got out of that situation. And in my mind, I was thinking, okay, girl, go and get these master's degrees and, you'll eventually find love again. And like I was checking off these things on this list. And what I found was, as I'm checking them off, I'm still missing something, and it was one of those things where this is something people don't really talk about. It's something that people struggle with and they go through, but nobody's really talking about it. And so you feel so alone. You feel like you're the only person dealing with it. And you feel like you can't really speak up about it because your family and friends won't understand. Well, you have a good job. Well, you have degrees. Well, you have a good relationship. And and it's because you're doing things that they aspire to do. And so to them, you must be ungrateful, or you must just be spoiled, or, like there are these connotations about what that means. So you kind of you feel like you have to shut other people off because they don't really get it. You can't have those conversations with them. And the truth is, God has just called you to do more in life, and that's okay. I was teaching, I was a middle school special education teacher, and I just knew like my heart was in it, but there was something more. Something was just missing in my life. And I couldn't put my finger on it. And I remember I went through this really dark time where I was anxious. Like every time, it was leading up to my 29th birthday, actually. And every time somebody mentioned my birthday, it just, my goodness, it really took me to a really bad spot. And it was because I realized I had generated this whole list of what my life was going to look like by the time I turned 30. And it finally hit me, girl, even if you start today, this list is not going to be done by 30. It's not. And I kept praying and asking God for forgiveness. And then I remember in December of 2018, he was like, girl, listen, you don't need any more of my forgiveness. You need to forgive yourself, because you've placed these limits on yourself. You've placed these timelines on your life, and you weren't even authorized to do that. And so once I forgave myself for even putting that type of pressure on myself, it opened me up to being able to see that life is so limitless if we just pursue it and not pursue it based on what other people think that pursuit should look like. And just be really intentional with how we spend our time, who we spend it with, spend our resources and our money and our energy, all of those things. And so after that, that's when I founded my original business, The Intentional Mindset, because that's exactly what it took, was being intentional in how I approach life to make sure that what I'm doing is a true reflection of me, not what people told me I should do, not what the books say should be the next step, but what fulfills me, what makes me feel alive on the inside.
Wow. Do you mind me asking, how old are you now? You're what?
30.
You're 30 now. When?
In January.
Oh, okay. Well, welcome to the Dirty 30 Club.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Fun fact, I am a former special education teacher as well. High school. Yes. So I understand all the fun things. Okay, let's talk. And you you talked about so many things. I was like, man, we could take that alone. That could be an episode. That alone could be an episode. We went through so many things and so many life lessons that we could definitely talk about. But I wanted to kind of segue specifically into your coaching practice. So you've kind of, you got to a point where I almost feel like essentially you wanted to pay it forward and start to help other people. Can you share a little bit about your mission to serve the people around you, your community?
Yes. I honestly, now, when I made the decision to help other people, I did not see it as coaching at all. And so one of the things that I do when I'm helping women is encouraging them to be committed to the vision, but not attached to how you get there. And that is something my coach shared with me, because when we are committed to the vision, it doesn't really matter how we get there. And if we try to force it to be one way, we a lot of times reduce our impact to something much less than what it should be. So for instance, I started designing inspirational journals for women that was how I started. In my mind, I was like, I'm going to change the world by designing inspirational journals. Newsflash. Somebody might be able to do that, but not I. And I actually was invited to speak at a conference, and when I literally, as I stepped off the stage, women were coming up to me, just saying how their life was changed and how I was speaking the exact things that they had been struggling with tears in their eyes. And I was like, this is it. These journals, it's going to be really hard for me to reach people in such an authentic way just by designing a journal. Journals are kind of impersonal. Journals could be an extension of this, but I was like, this is what I want. I want to create more of this. And so that is when I made the shift to speaking. And then in speaking, you're introduced to more and more people who want more than just a one-time event. Mm-hmm. They want someone to actually take their hand and walk them through the process so that it takes the guesswork out of it. And so after women started asking for more, like, well, how can we work together more, And I was like, well, I don't know. Email me. Let's talk, I guess, And so honestly, when you understand the value of your vision, you will understand that how you get there is going to shift, and it'll expand into different things that you probably didn't expect. And you just have to keep an open mind to that and keep your goal at the forefront of your mind. Like me trying to impact women and change their lives and help them find fulfillment doing those journals, I probably would have built a business that I grew to resent because it was taking me away from what makes me feel alive. And what makes me feel alive right now, speaking and coaching, may not make me feel alive, 3 years from now. So understand that just like we evolve as people, so does our purpose. So does what fulfills us. So don't try to just make something fit.
Yeah. What would you say are some, as you've been on this journey of coaching, what would you say has been kind of like more of a trend that you're seeing from your clients as it relates to their guidance and support from you?
I would say the number one thing is, honey, learning how to shed other people's opinions. Mm. Like there's just this tendency among women to be everything to everybody, but we leave ourselves out of the equation. But how can you fully pour into other people if you're not pouring from a full place?
Come on.
Yeah, so you're doing a disservice to the people that you love and the ones you're trying to serve. You're actually doing them a service because you're showing up less than full. So it's about understanding the dynamic of doing the self-work, the work on self, and prioritizing self-care and, doing it unapologetically, not feeling like I remember last year there was this conference and I was speaking to the conference organizer, and she was saying that she actually had to shift the title of her conference. It used to be called, I can't remember the name of it, but she had to shift the title from being a retreat to being a conference. And she said that one change of that one word made almost a 50% difference in the number of people. It was a women's conference, in the number of women that signed up for it. And it was because the women felt guilty about investing money in a retreat, because that sounds like I'm taking care of myself, versus investing in a conference. Oh, well, I can justify that. That is development. You know what I'm saying? But self-care, a retreat, all of that is development. All of that makes us better. All of that makes us show up in the world as a higher version of ourselves. So it's all important. But that's just the mindset that a lot of us have adopted as if we're not important enough to prioritize what makes us come alive. We love to be the cheerleader for everybody else. When it's time to put self first and set and enforce some boundaries, then we get quiet, we get shy, we get withdrawn. We start feeling guilty and all of those things, but you have to protect your peace so that you can show up full.
I like you. I don't just say that to people, okay? First of all, I like you. You are wise beyond your years, yes. I think. Man, like God has given you a gift to really be able to see things clear and quick, and then to be able to share that with other people. That's really cool. As an extension of your coaching practice, you are the host of the Fulfillment Factor podcast, which helps women snatch back ownership of their dreams. Now, what was the inspiration behind the creation of your show?
So the podcast is, every episode is 10 minutes or less. It's a snack-sized podcast. And the purpose behind that is because of this mentality we have where we tend to not prioritize self. So that I could make sure I could reach as many women as possible, I decided to provide super short episodes so there's no excuse. You can dedicate 10 minutes, sis. And that is so that I can connect with women in a way that lets them know you're not on this journey alone, and your dreams matter, because the gift, and everybody has a unique gift. Whatever your gift is, there are people who are assigned to you and they're waiting for you to show up in the world. Like they need what you have to offer. And every time you put your dreams and goals on the back burner, you're robbing them of that opportunity. Like, you may have more time to give birth to your dream, but they may not have more time to get what they need. So you have to understand that it's of utmost importance for you to just snatch back ownership. Like, girl, you are needed. You are needed.
Are you someone who's ready to get your voice out into the world? Have you been considering starting your own podcast and not sure of all the things it takes to launch your show? Well, at Levels to Lunch, they've done all the groundwork to help you turn your dreams into streams. With professional knowledge and experience in strategy, recording, editing, and presenting, they have all the resources to help you in your journey in launching your show. From the do-it-yourselfer to that time-strapped podcaster that just needs to get it done, they walk you through every step to get your show launched and ready for the world. So go ahead and take that next step and make your podcasting dreams a reality by visiting levels2lunch.com. Again, that's www.levels2lunch.com. How often do you record? Like, when do you release your episodes?
Every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Well, 10-minute snack bites. If y'all can digest all our episodes. Oh, you have something, Terry?
Yeah, just quick, like super duper quick. She said something that was profound, which, but it's something that was like one little thing that just sounded different. When you were talking about how, just ultimately the idea of like, you could, if you're not, feeling your purpose, basically, you could be missing out on helping somebody else that's waited, that God has placed in your life for you to help them. You also mentioned like the idea that because it's not even about necessarily you, but it's about the fact that this person may not have the same amount of time that you have. You know what I'm saying? I never even thought about it from that standpoint, because I'm always like, yeah, you don't want to rob people of their blessings because you're not fulfilling like what you're called to do. But the idea that other person their time may be, their window may be a little bit shorter. Never even thought about that. That's all. I was like, dang. Okay.
No, that's a good point.
Yeah,
everybody's path is different, and we don't, that's true. I didn't think about that way either until you kind of expounded more on that point. For you, Sherell, I know one of the big things that you like to help some of your clients, individuals, through your coaching is helping them move past what a lot of us struggle with, especially as an entrepreneur, I know for sure, firsthand, is moving past this feeling of imposter syndrome. Why is this so important to you? And have you yourself kind of walked this path, even as an entrepreneur, like having bouts of imposter syndrome?
Definitely. So research has shown that at least 70% of people have experienced imposter syndrome at some point in their life or career. And I think what makes it so important is that imposter syndrome has the ability to drive how you do everything. If you're always walking around feeling like you're a fraud or feeling like you don't deserve to be in a certain position of influence or impact, or people are going to find out you're not as smart as you really are, that is going to make you go through life playing it really small. And it's going to cheat you out of the big experience in life that God wants you to have. And so it is so important to overcome that and understand that the people who lead with confidence, they really aren't any different than you. They're not more talented. They're not smarter. They're not more diplomatic or anything. They just think differently. Mm-hmm. So all you need to do is adopt new thoughts. You've got to you got to throw away some stuff, throw away some patterns of thought, and then you got to pick up some new ones. And it's as simple as that. And that process may not be simple in itself, but that is exactly how that works. You just got to think different.
Yeah, it's definitely sharpening those mental muscles and training your brain to just reshifting your thinking. I definitely agree. Is probably that simple concept alone would shift so much of our dynamic. And because, like you said, your mind powers a lot of you, and it has kind of this thing, not saying that, we don't all sometimes move into this space of fear and self-doubt, but you can conquer through that by just shifting your thoughts around it, because not everyone was born with the answer, or right at the inception of their idea. So it just takes time and training yourself to, to move through it. And I love that that's a big portion of kind of what you help guide individuals through, because that is key.
Right. It's really not. It's really just, like I said before, adopting those new thought patterns and understanding first and foremost that, even because you see it a lot, someone gets a new position and on the inside they are just frantic with fear, like, oh my God, these people are going to find out I really don't deserve this. Or, they get a new leadership position, or, people see them speaking somewhere and they create a big impact and they're fearful that people are going to find out they're not who they seem to be, or something like that. And here's the thing, like you said, no one knows it all. No one does. Mm-hmm. And so when you are gifted an opportunity or given the opportunity to expand into something new and try something new, understand it's a learning opportunity, and learning makes us all better. So there's nothing to fear. Just see it as, wow, even my mistakes are worth it. Even my mistakes are valuable enough for me to hold this type of influence, because they know I will be able to leverage my mistakes in a way that is still going to create massive value. That's all that means. It's not that they put you in position to not make mistakes. It's just that they trust you know how to leverage your mistakes.
That's it.
Great. Good. That's that. That is that on that. Man, this is some good stuff. Now, Brittany, in addition to being a podcast host, having your own coaching business, you are also an author. And in your book, also titled The Fulfillment Factor, you introduce your MOVE framework model. Can you break down the framework for us and how you apply it to your coaching?
Yes. Make a commitment. You have to and making a commitment is only saying you are going to take responsibility to complete what you set out to do. A lot of times people say they struggle with consistency. It's just all about taking on responsibility. Like, if you seriously take responsibility for what you said you were going to do, you'll follow through. Oh, open your mind. Like I said before, you have your vision, but you cannot be attached to how you get there, because otherwise you are going to cut your impact, your influence, your ability to change lives. You're going to cut that short. V is all about vision. You have to have a plan. You have to have somewhere you're headed. If you have no vision, honey, what are we doing? what are we doing? Where are we going? What is this? And then E is execute, because there's no point in having a vision, having these great ideas and just carrying them around in your head for 10 or 15 years, because it ain't an idea without implementation is nothing. So execute. So that is the MOVE framework, and we work through how to apply that to where you are now and where it is that you're trying to go in life, because it's always going to require those 4 things.
Those are great. Make a commitment, open your mind. Vision,
and then E,
execute. Okay. Now the book also has like a journal piece to it, connected with it, right? Or something?
Yes, at the end of each section, there's an activity for you to work through, because there's no point in me giving you the plan if you're not going to do the work.
Perfect. Yeah, makes sense. I love that. Okay, good. Go ahead, Yana.
No, so let's talk a bit about kind of your transition into the space that got you into coaching and entrepreneurship. How has this transition been for you? Like, when did you know it was time to make that transition, and what difficulties did you face moving into this space, transitioning? I'm assuming, are you still teaching?
And that's something that people are generally shocked to find out, is that I am still a full-time special education teacher in this moment. But like I said before, what makes you feel alive in this season may not make you feel alive in the next season, and you have to be open to flowing with that.
Right.
So I cannot guarantee how much longer I'll be a full-time special education teacher, but as of presently I am. And it has presented challenges, especially because teaching is so hands-on. It's not like a more hands-off position where if I'm taking off from work, it just means some extra paperwork will pile up. It's not like that. With teaching, there is no replacement for that, if that makes sense. So finding that balance between, like booking, speaking engagements, and also still making sure that I'm fully present for my students has presented some challenges, but I take them in stride because, like I said, one of the things I do want people to understand is that when you get into entrepreneurship, we crave a blueprint, and the God honest truth is there isn't one. Mm-hmm. Because chances are you're doing things that haven't been done before. There may be people who have done similar things, but nobody has lived your exact life. No one has the same exact script that you have. So instead of trying to follow a blueprint, understand you just got to flow. You got to find a way to make them fit. There is no such thing as work-life balance. It's work-life fit. How can I make these 2 elements of my life fit? And it's the same way with entrepreneurship. And if you're still working, if you're called to do something else, that does not necessarily mean you have to jump ship fully into entrepreneurship. That's not what that means. And it also doesn't mean that you're supposed to stay in a full-time position somewhere else. You just have to understand you're not following anybody else's script. There is no blueprint for you. There isn't. You're creating it as you go. So just keep your mind open and flow with that.
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly with you. Even in this space with Terry and I, we were just like, we started out, don't get me wrong, it's definitely great to kind of look at different resources and look at kind of, if you can not reinvent the whole wheel, if you can look at something as a guide. But like you said, your path is your path, and, you have to walk that to see how that, unfolds for you. And the biggest piece of that is that, like you said, you're not going to know what that is until you move, and you're going to fall along the way. Because we have had some falls and some scrapes, but I think those moments present the most times to the greatest moments for learning, is when you are walking through it and you don't know, and you kind of fail forward through it. So yeah, I agree that you definitely and I agree, and I love that you share that you're still working full time, and it's not it's a process, and but you still are walking in your calling. You're not allowing you don't have to give up one thing to pursue the other. Sometimes you have to, there's going to be somewhat of a balance of both, or, this is important even in right now, because you think about, I hate to keep bringing up the time that we're in right now with coronavirus, but even more so, fulfilling that path in your calling, you can still do that in addition to whatever your main thing is. Even if it's not something that you pursue something fully, but just it's something amazing about when you walk fully into something that you're called to do. When you pursue that, when you start pursuing that thing, man, it just evolves you as a person. So first off, I commend you for, doing both, as well as in this time. I want to ask you, so are you teaching online right now too? Has that been a shift for you with how things are going on right now?
Yes, so it has been challenging. So this week it's actually considered, even though we're out of school, due to what's going on, this is considered our spring break week. So I was able to take a bit of a breather this week, but especially for special education, we are everything is individualized. So,
yes.
People, I don't think really understand how that affects us as teachers. Because general education teachers can basically create a blanket lesson for everybody, and either teach it live or, send it out, whatever. But when you're in a special education space and you're delivering services that are individualized, that means one lesson that works for one child will not work for the other 20-something kids on my caseload, and so it requires a lot more interaction, a whole lot more communication with parents and students. And especially, again, even in this space, there is no blueprint. We've never been here before, and I feel like the work that I've been doing in my own space, walking in my calling, prepared me so that when other teachers were panicking, I'm used to being flexible and resilient and innovative. I'm just used to doing that on a daily basis. And so what you'll find is the things that you're going to encounter in your entrepreneurial journey are really going to build some transferable skills should you ever be in other spaces, whether it's working or consulting or whatever. The skills you learn from entrepreneurship are golden, and you learn them in a very intimate way because whatever you are pursuing in your entrepreneurial journey, it is a direct impact on you. What I do when I'm working for someone else, it might have a direct impact, but in a lot of ways, there are so many channels before it really impacts me, But when you are pursuing something that you're called to do, any and every decision you make, you're going to feel the direct impact of it. And so because of that, the skills you just learn them in a different way. They carry a different weight when you're doing it for yourself, for something you've built.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing that Yana said. I applaud you for being able to do both so well. And you have 20 kids on your caseload. That's a lot. That's a lot. And especially right now. But like you said, there is something different about being a SPED teacher where you just have that it's part of the game. You have to be flexible. You have to be able to differentiate for your students, opposed to a gen ed teacher. So, but I know about it's just different. It's different. And it takes a lot more, I think, than what gen ed teacher. And shout out to the gen ed teachers. I'm not trying to play my gen ed teachers because y'all work hard too. And y'all are doing an amazing job right now. But I know that the game is a lot different in SPED for sure. So, man, shout out to you. I do want to ask.
Just the question of how bad do you want it? I ask myself that even when it comes to my students, how bad do I want to create a better life for them? When it comes to my business, how bad do I want to create something global to help women unapologetically pursue what makes them feel alive? So when it gets tough or when it's very challenging, all I ask myself is how bad do I want it? Because if I don't want it, then don't dabble with it. But if I want it, then I got to press forward.
That's
period.
Good.
Like, find a way.
Yeah. How bad do you want it?
How bad do you want it? How bad,
How bad
do
do
you
you need it? How bad
I know that's not
do
how the
you
song go, but I just
But I caught on. Like, I already knew. Brittany, I want to ask you, what has been the most fulfilling part of this, as far as personal growth, and as well as you being able to reach others and help them out?
I would say seeing myself seeing myself do things I never imagined I would be doing. I never imagined having a podcast. I mean, I didn't start listening to podcasts till last year. And now I've had a podcast almost 9 months, I think, and having a book and just seeing myself tap into things that I haven't seen anyone else in my family do, or people around me do. And seeing that direct impact on other people. Because another thing that most people don't realize is that I'm an introvert. So with that being said, I had to learn how to balance what I do with making sure, again, I'm still showing up full. So, for me, what that looks like, if I'm going to be at a conference speaking, then the whole next day, I'm probably going to just need me time to just decompress and not be around people, because people I feel deeply. And so it requires a lot of energy out of me when I'm around large crowds and stuff, and just owning that, like not being ashamed of it or feeling guilty about it, because I know that there are other people who probably feel called to do stuff and they're like, but I'm an introvert. Like, I don't even do people like that. But it's bigger than you. It's not even, it's about you in a certain sense, but it's way bigger than just you. It's about navigating new ways to operate in your calling and make sure you're still showing up full.
Yeah, man. Brittany, girl, just know that you are definitely walking the path designed for you. Just keep gear, just stay on it. I see so much. I just see so much for you, and I love to hear how you're being moved into your calling, and I just know by you moving, you're helping so many others move into their space that's designed for them. So keep that up. Keep it up.
I appreciate it.
And I also want to say, and you make it easy. If that, I don't know if that what I'm saying makes sense. Like you make the process, you break things down to where, I mean, they're just very easy to understand, and very easy to comprehend. And like the work that's kind of like you talk about, like leaving the guessing work out of it, and it's, at the end of the day, it's left up to that individual to change their mindset. But you make the process easy in a very very good, tangible way. And I don't know if it's just the way that you're speaking or the information, everything. You've got the whole package.
I mean, she's naturally a teacher. You can see that those elements flow out of her. Yeah. So
maybe that's what it is, child. Girl, you would have thought I should have known.
But it's a deeper gift. I mean, she has that natural teaching ability, which makes sense why you're a teacher, because you naturally because I'm gonna be honest, not everybody can teach a concept and break it down, but also apply it in a way that's so relatable. And you have a good way of just driving all those elements together. So that's why I was like, yeah, just definitely you are walking in the right way. So just to stay on.
I appreciate that. You are doing incredible work to creating this platform for women like me to help other people is incredible. That takes an insurmountable amount of courage and commitment to do that, and especially having co-hosts, because I do solo episodes. You guys are co-hosts, having to coordinate each other's schedules and the schedules of guests. Me being a fellow podcaster, I understand. I see y'all, because that takes work.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
No, we appreciate that. It helps that we're cousins too.
Yes, it does.
I can just be like, Terry, I need you to clear your schedule. No, I'm just messing.
Right.
We're flexible.
It don't really be like that.
We all know cousins don't act right.
You know what? Honestly, We don't even really be on that type of energy.
We don't
at all.
That's a beautiful thing. And I just don't want you all to, I want you all to understand and not downplay the dynamic of what you all are doing, because y'all are creating a safe space for Black women and women of color to just be real about what we're going through, because there are so many conversations that are just kept in our heads and we're all suffering in silence.
Yeah.
Thank you for that confirmation. That really touches the core of, what Terry and I aim for the show. So, when you hear it from others, it's just not that we do this for because we don't do this for validation at all. But to hear it though, it definitely keeps us going, especially when we get to those difficult times where it's just like, man, are people getting it? And honestly, while we definitely want our show to grow and we want it to reach and touch others, not even just those who are Black women, because honestly, we're telling our stories. It is for us, but not that we have to display or show ourselves to prove a point about ourselves, but we're tired of everyone doing this on our behalf, but from us. If you want to hear the real, if you want to hear what we're going through, you want to hear the great things that we have going on, hear it from our mouths ourselves. So yeah, we just thank you for that, because that definitely, above all accolades, that is what we want. We want that message to get across, and when you hear that come back and return to you, that's what you're getting. That's fulfillment. That, girl,
absolutely,
that's the fulfillment factor.
I was like, I feel seen. We feel seen. That's a beautiful thing.
Yes, I definitely see you guys, and I don't take it lightly.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Well, y'all even have me crying on the show today.
We're actually overdue from.
No, Tyrion has a cry meter for me, because But Brittany, before we actually close out the show, I have a few questions. Actually, one last question for those that are listening. Do you have any tips that you can offer, especially as we're going through this time right now, where we're in this new space? Can you offer a tip or two for someone to officially use their time during this pandemic?
Yes, I would say take time to really explore the things that you do with excellence and with ease. In my book, I give the example of brushing hair, and it seems so simple, but a lot of times we think that fulfillment is supposed to come from these really, really extraordinary things happening, and it's usually in the simple stuff, the stuff that we feel like is just way too simple to be it. But I use the example of brushing hair. You might be the best in your family at brushing hair. And when y'all have Sunday dinners, again, after this is over, when y'all have Sunday dinners at grandma's house, everybody might ask you to brush their hair or scratch their head or whatever. And it may seem like, or grease their hair, it may seem like something so small, but it creates so much meaning and creates a lasting impact for the people you do it for. That might be that thing that you are called to do. It doesn't mean you have to go and create a podcast. It doesn't mean you have to go speak on global stages. That's not it for everybody. And just knowing that whatever you do with excellence and ease is going to make you feel alive in some capacity on the inside. But explore those things and figure out what makes you feel the most alive. Because it may seem like brushing hair is something small, but I know personally growing up, a lot of the people who were older in my family, they love that. Like, they love for you to grease their hair and brush their hair and stuff. And there are tons of elderly people across the world in nursing homes and rehab facilities and stuff who would love to have someone come in to just brush their hair and give them the gift of touch and time, and so don't feel like what you're called to do has to be this immaculate thing. It could be something that you really just overlook, but you really do it with excellence and ease.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
I love that you mentioned even just the concept of brushing your hair, and you talked about like grazing the scalp, because And I think our last chat when we talked about self-care, what does it feel like? That was one of the moments that I called out was like self-care for me feels like my grandmother parting my hair and greasing my scalp. That it's just something, or just like the massaging of her fingers through my head when she's washing, or just taking, it's that care. So when you said that, that just took me back to that place and that visual, man.
Not only that, I mean, just think about the fact that we are sitting in this space where we have this platform to share our narratives and our stories, and we can sit and just freely talk about greasing our scalps, because that our other friends, like you know what I'm saying? Like that's not part of their conversation, natural conversation. We didn't even have to explain that to anybody. Like we know what greasing your scalp is. The freedom of being able to
can relate to that feeling.
Yes.
Talking about, like, we know exactly what she's talking about, how that feels.
Or the hot comb.
Let's not talk about that. Don't let your hair be a little damp. And that heat.
I don't want to give them no hot comb after I done got my scalp greased, because that's fresh and it's sizzling. No, yeah, that's so true. Oh, okay. So as we wrap, we always ask our guests a question that relates to a power word that guides them through the year. I know 2020 has been a little different than most years for us, but what would you say, if you can think of one word, what would that one word for you be for 2020 that's guiding you?
My word is refine. It is about taking what I already have and refining it so that it's the best that I can produce. Up until now, I've spent a lot of time and invested a lot of money and energy in gathering new information and new concepts and new resources, all of those great things. But now this is a season of refinement for me. Just taking what I have and making it better, making it the absolute best that I can offer.
Love that refinement. Yes.
Yeah.
That was different. I haven't, I love it though. I love it. Because that's definitely, I feel like that's, man, I need to add that to my list. I need to add that to my list. Everybody's giving us some good words, and I'm like, I got a whole book of words for 2020 that I need to follow. So refinement is going on the list too.
That was great. Brittany, do you have any new projects that will be coming out this year?
Being as such, I'm in a season of refinement. I'm just taking what I have and making it better. Mm-hmm. So even actually, with that being said, with refinement, my podcast was actually called the Brittany Sherell Podcast. And I recently, last month, changed it to the Fulfillment Factor Podcast. Mm-hmm. My book got a makeover. I gave it a facelift, had it redesigned. The content is still the same. But it's like those things that we sometimes just skip over because life is so busy or it pulls us so many different directions. I wanted to make sure that everything I did made sense and was in alignment with my whole being, why I'm doing what I'm doing, and making sure that it's communicated clearly wherever someone may meet me. So if they meet me on the podcast, they already know it's about fulfillment. If they read my book, they know it's about fulfillment. If they go to my website, it's clear because everything is communicating the same thing. So I'm not creating, my goal is not to create new stuff. It's just to make what I have better.
Well, there it is then. Perfect. I got nothing on that.
How can our listeners, Brittany, connect with you if they want to work with you, as well as follow you and get connected with all the work that you have going?
So my website is just BrittanySherell.com. And on there, you can find the links you can listen to my podcast. You can find the links to subscribe. I'm on Apple, Spotify, almost anywhere you can listen to a podcast. Mm-hmm. And of course, on all social media at Brittany Sherell. I keep it simple. Like I don't make people have to work hard to find me.
Hey, that's how it has to be. Is everything you said? So everything is under Brittany Sherell, correct?
Yes.
Okay, we'll have everything linked in our show notes for you guys. So, yes, check her out. Check out the Fulfillment Factor podcast every Tuesday on your favorite platform. Grab the book. We'll have the link and everything in our show notes for you guys to guide to Brittany and her platform. But again, Brittany, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your story. Again, as we mentioned, you have it, and you girl, just keep moving with it. We definitely know you're going to go far, and all the success for you. Did you have anything, Tyrion?
No, thank you for helping us move today.
I see what you did
Thank
there.
you for
Moving to fulfillment.
I've really had a good time hanging out with y'all today.
Yes.
Thank you for accepting our craziness. I know that Terry and I, we like to have fun. I'm gonna quit calling this crazy, although we may have a little tinge of it. But we really enjoy the women that we connect with on the show, and we just like to It's a celebration. We just like to have fun. So we thank you for accepting all of us.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yes, and for our listeners, of course, thanks to you for always tuning in and helping us to continue to amplify the voices of Black women. Of course, our aim on this show is to always amplify our voices, share our stories, share in our successes, share in our lessons and celebrate our successes. And we just thank you for always standing behind us and supporting that. Again, check Brittany out, and you can always check out Melanated Conversations. We are all on all social media as Melanated Combos, and you can check out all of our episodes on all the platforms as well. If you have a story that you would like to share, send us a note to info@Melanated Conversations. We want to get your voice out here too. I think that was all that I have. Any final words or thoughts, Tyrion?
No, just once again, thank you so much, Brittany. It was an honor. It was a pleasure, an absolute pleasure to meet you, to have this conversation with you. And yeah, I just, I think you're doing wonderful, great things. You're doing big things. Like Yana said, you have it, all of it, the it factor. And I can't wait to see you on some stages, some really big stages, and more stuff coming from you for sure.
Yes, and if you're out in the Dallas area, girl, let us know.
Please, yes, when they let us back in the outside.
Right.
Oh, yeah, that is true.
We'll be headed that way soon.
All right, well, we're going to head out, you guys, but as always, as we continue to practice social distancing, just do your part so that, we can all go back out and enjoy regular life again. But until next time,
melanate on that.
Thank you for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed our chat today. Keep the conversation going by heading to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and leaving us a review.
Have a story of your own to share? Email us at info@melanatedconversations.com or connect with us on social media at Melanated Conversations. Till next time, keep raising your voice.